Welcome back to Sports Viewpoints, Kevin. They have to run that disclaimer before every time I'm on the air to make people know that the rich muckety mucks who own this TV station do not agree with what I say. But speaking of not agree, go ahead.
Let's do a recap one more time.
Sure, we've been talking about this wrestling reunion 2014 at the Dalton, Georgia Trade Center, Saturday, May the 3rd.
Moondog Rex, Bobby Fulton of the Fantastics, Buff the Stuff Bagwell, Lodi from Ravens Flock, Ronnie Garvin, the man with the hands of stone, Wildfire, Tommy Rich, Action Mike Jackson, the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, and Bullet Bob Armstrong, WWE Hall of Famer. And we got him on the line. Bob Armstrong, welcome to Sports View.
Well, thank you, partners. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to May 3rd there at the Trade Center because I'm going to get to see some people I hadn't seen in a while. Of course, over the years, Rock and Roll Express, you mentioned, and Brad and I used to travel with them extensively back in '86, and they were about the hottest team in the country. Absolutely. And so, and Ronnie Garvin was in the area at the time, the Hands of Stone, and Moondog Rex was like wrestling a brick house, hard to move. He weighed about 350 pounds. So it's just going to be a real honor for me to be there and see some old friends and some wrestling fans that I hadn't seen in a while, I hope.
Bob, we're showing some footage in the background of you and
you over
look
the
like
years,
Greg the Hammer Valentine's. A little footage on TBS.
Uh-huh.
We got a little tape rolling where you're doing an interview with Ronnie Piper.
Oh, yes. I had some problems with old Roddy Piper, that's for sure. That's when Brad had first started wrestling.
And it shows Brad on the screen right now.
Brad was 18 years old, and he didn't know how to answer him, so we had a few problems with Roddy Piper.
All right. It's an honor to have you be coming up to Dalton, Georgia at the Dalton Trade Center. I said before we called that, when you guys were headlining arenas in y'all's time, a lot of wrestling fans didn't get to meet y'all up close and personal and get autographs with you. So this is an honor to have this convention come to town where you guys could take time to meet with the wrestling fans and pictures and autographs.
Well, sure, certainly, and it does me good too because wrestling fans, they remember certain matches, and when they ask me about it, it rings a bell, and I'll remember those matches. And this is my 51st year in wrestling.
Wow.
In fact, I wrestled last night over in Mississippi, and I hadn't even been to bed yet. I just stayed up. I got home about 5 o'clock this morning, so I've been up all day. If I sound a little sleepy to you. But it'll be great to talk to them. They bring back a lot of memories for me, and I hope I can answer most questions. After 51 years, I've wrestled most of them. If I didn't wrestle them, I was on the same card with them. So it'll be a pleasure to talk to the fans about anything they remember.
I got one in mind. If you want to take a few minutes and tell us about it, is when you wrestled Dory Funk Jr. for the world title. You want to tell us about that one for a few minutes?
Yeah, that was in Macon, Georgia. They had just built the Civic Center there, and they wanted something in there to, draw some money. So they had Elvis Presley there, and he drew 5,750, I believe it was. And the next week, it had Dory Funk and I, who had been rattling back and forth. He'd send interviews from Texas, telling how tough he was eating that Texas beef, and I'd send a message back to him that I wasn't doing too bad on grits and greens. And so the night I wrestled him, we outdrew Elvis Presley by 600 people the next week. Wow. And on the way to the ring, all I could hear was the crowd in unison saying, grits and greens, grits and greens. So it was a night I'll never forget.
Awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like a great match. And so, as you tell us, do you remember any matches from being up in North Georgia, Dalton, or Chattanooga areas? Like any of those come to mind?
When you used to come to the
Oh yes, I wrestled up through there for years and years and years, and wrestled Terry Funk in that area. He was completely different from Dory Funk. He was a wild man. Dory was a professional to the hilt and knew just about every wrestling hold in the book, and Terry only knew wide open and punch you in the nose. So you had to be. He was completely different from his brother.
You remember any matches from the Memorial Auditorium downtown Chattanooga, right here in Chattanooga?
Oh, yeah. Abdullah the Butcher, one of the toughest matches I ever had. They did TV earlier in the day. And then Harry Thornton was the host. And Abdullah the Butcher was kind of wild, and we got into it, and I got to the chair first, and opened him up pretty good. So that night at the Chattanooga downtown at the Chattanooga arena, we sold out, and he was mad. Abdullah was as mad as I've ever seen him, and that was one of the toughest fights I ever had because he weighed close to 400 pounds in his prime. And we nearly beat each other to death down there. So I remember that one, and also the Mongolian Stomper.
I was about to ask you about Tough Man being the Mongolian Stomper.
Oh, he was always in shape. He always brought the best out of me, because he was always in fantastic condition. That was one of his prime attributes, as being in just great condition. So if you weren't ready, you didn't last very long with that man.
Wrestling fans, coming up May 3rd, Dalton Trading Convention Center presents Wrestling Reunion 2014. Come early for the meet and greet, stay for the matches, see set stars is WWE Hall of Famer Bullet Bob Armstrong, 2 former NWA World Heavyweight Champions Tommy Wildfire Rich, and Ronnie Garvin, Ricky Morton, and Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express, one half the Fantastics, Bobby Fulton, the legendary Action Mike Jackson, former WWE Tag Team Champions, the Original Demolition, Action Smash, WCW's own Buff Bagwell, along with Lodi from Ravens Flock, 2014 Wrestling Union Dalton Trading Convention Center, May 3rd. Be there!